Welcome back. Today I'm going to attempt to solve some puzzles on chess.com as part of my normal chess development, but also to, work on my puzzle rating, which I believe I recently got over 1700. If you're new to my channel, I'm not a titled player or chess coach like you see with a lot of other chess YouTubers. I'm just a random person trying to get better at chess, or really not to get worse. I learned how to play chess when I was about 10 years old, but I never really studied it until a couple of years ago. And I hope you'll follow along on my journey. I'm just going to click puzzles, and yes, 1704 was the last rating that I had here. Oh, okay, I have the white pieces. It looks like their king is trapped here. They're in a position to block the check after, I move my knight someplace. It's going to be check from the queen, my queen, which is over here on A8. But the question then is where to move the knight, right? Oh, I just realized my opponent has a whole other queen down here on C1. They've apparently just promoted. So I do not want to move the knight to one of these two squares because then they can block the check on C8 and the queens will be protecting each other. If they didn't have this queen, then it wouldn't matter where I put the knight because they'd block and I would take it and it would be mate. But since they do have the other queen, it has to be a double check. And they can't block that and the king can't move. So I think that's mate in one if I put the knight on F6. Right? Because they can't block with the queen in any of those squares because they're also in check from the knight. And they can't take the knight, so... Oh, wow. Well, that was embarrassing. I'm in check. Oh my goodness, I did not see that. All right. You know how tempting it would be to just pretend that last part didn't happen and then go in with a straight face and be like, okay, what do I have here? Well, I'm in check. And start off, yeah. But I'm willing to record and broadcast my mistakes. Well, I have to get out of check, and the only way to get out of check is either to block with the queen or to block with the knight. If I block with the knight, that puts them in check, and my knight keeps them from seeing each other. So that's probably it then. And then that's checkmate. Okay, wow. Well, I don't have any excuse for that other than, I guess, because my king was so far over there, I just didn't even expect it to be there, so I was only seeing my queen and their queen and, the check and all that. Well, if the board allowed illegal moves, I would have failed that puzzle. I wouldn't have gotten 5 points. You saw that, right? I tried to move the knight here to F6, but it wouldn't allow an illegal move. So I guess, I'm thankful for that. All right, in this puzzle, I am playing with the black pieces. As always, I'm going to follow my checklist, which is to look for checks. And then if we have multiple checks, we evaluate those checks. Are they safe? Are they forcing? And do we have any follow-ups? If the checks don't work out, I'm going to look for captures and again, evaluate the captures, and then we'll look for threats if those don't work out. Here I have multiple checks with the queen. I can check down here on A5. And of course, I can check on multiple squares across the second rank there. I can check by taking this pawn. If the knight wasn't where it is, then taking that pawn would actually be pretty good because my rook would be guarding that square there, right? B3. But as it is, they could just take that queen. That's bad. They can take my queen here. They can take my queen here. Any of those second rank checks. So that's making me look at this A5 check. But that gives them a lot of options. They can block with the pawn, which I guess would be okay because my rook is guarding that square. I could just take the pawn with my queen. Okay. What other options do they have? I mean, these squares will be cut off by my queen and their own pieces are in the way there. So they could come forward, in which case that would be mate, right? Because my rook's guarding that spot and my pawn is guarding over here, both my pawns. Okay, so they could go back, not here because my queen's on that diagonal, but they could go back to the second rank. Okay, so maybe that's not it. Oh, you know what? If they drop back to the second rank, I can follow up a check with my other rook. And if they blocked with their rook, that would be a problem because my queen is pointed at that square. Okay, let's follow that out a little further. If I check on A5, obviously, again, if they block with the pawn, I just check again, then they have to go back. If they don't block with the pawn and they just go back, I check with the rook. Then they would have two options. They can't come back forward to C3, so they would either have to block with the rook, which I would take, or they could go down to the back rank, their back rank, the first rank. And if they had originally gotten out of check over here on B2, and I checked here and they went to the back rank, then what do I have? Oh, my rook would be guarding over here, so I could come down. They would have to move over, and then that would be mate. I don't know if that works, but let's try it. Okay, they did go back. Well, I'm pretty sure it's checking with the rook, so let's do that. Oh, and it stopped. Okay. Well, it took me a long time to see that. All right, next puzzle. Okay, this looks like it has arisen from the Caro-Kann defense because I'm pretty sure I've been in a very similar situation before, and I got hung up here with this knight coming in, and they're going to get the bishop, which forces my king to move. How do I stop them from getting the bishop? Oh, wait, I can just take that, can't I? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've been in this exact position in the Caro-Kann defense before, and I'm pretty sure I've messed it up multiple times. So it's a good thing I got this puzzle. It may not help any of you if you don't play the Caro-Kann, but it helps me. So let's see. If I take the knight, they have multiple options at that point. They could take my bishop, but if they do, I come back with the knight, and I've picked up 2 pieces for 1. If they take my knight back, so that would make us even, then I take their bishop. If they take back, I take their knight as well, and I've again, and I think either way I've gone up a piece. I'm going to take the knight with my knight. Okay, then I take the bishop and the knight. Oh, well, that's what I said. Well, then why can't I ever figure that out when I'm actually playing the Caro-Kann defense? Or maybe I have, and I just don't remember it because I remember the mistakes, not the successes. Okay, next puzzle. Well, I think that's a mate in 1, isn't it? I was just for a second, I was thinking about putting my queen here and then the king goes over and I would go down, but then they could come around or block with the bishop. But if I just go down, that's checkmate, I'm pretty sure, because I'm not in check, right? Okay. I probably could have gotten more points if I had gone faster, but I hesitated because, okay. That only has a 46% pass rate. I wonder what people are missing there. Or maybe they're doing the thing that I said without thinking, they're going too fast. Next puzzle. I am playing with the black pieces. And my king is safe over here, temporarily safe. Let's look at the checks. I have a rook check, I have a pawn check, I have 3 queen checks. I mean, the pawn check isn't great because they can take back with the pawn, and I don't think that helps me out any. I think maybe I can just put my queen right there. I didn't even see that queen check, did I? I said 3 queen checks. I have 4 queen checks. 5, now that I think about it. Wow. Well, that's why we look at all the checks. All right, I think that's checkmate, because the rook's cutting off all of this, the pawn's guarding that square, and my queen would be cutting off these. Okay. Now that one has a much higher pass rate, but this one seemed harder to me than the previous one, so I don't know. I'm going to click next, but I just realized I've had several mates in 1s or mates in 2 puzzles, and I haven't had any of those endgame ones, so I'm starting to anticipate that that's what I'm going to get, but let's see. Nope, still not an endgame puzzle. Okay. Well, let's look at our checks. We don't have any checks because I could check there except my bishop's in the way. And I can't just like move the bishop and hoping to get my knight down there because they would just take my knight with the pawn. Oh, but if they take the knight with the pawn, I'll take back and that'll be checkmate, won't it? With my rook over here. So what should I do then? Should I move the bishop? Not there, because they'll take it. And if I move it here, then it's not guarding that spot anymore. What if I pulled it back just a little bit further, hoping to go in here with my knight, which would be a fork? Do you think they would take? Again, if they did, that would be mate, so I'm not worried about them taking the knight. I'm pretty sure that would be mate. Okay, so what do they play if I pull the bishop back to d4? They could block but I would just take the bishop, right? And it would still be threatening the fork. Another idea is to put my queen up on d6, threatening a mate over here. I don't think they'll take my bishop because that would be a fork. Well, actually, if they did take my bishop, yeah, if they took my bishop, then that's mate, right? So I think I should play here, threatening the mate. What can they do about that? They could push this pawn up, but then I could take it. Wow, I must be missing something because it looks like I have several routes to mate here. Do they have a check that I can't see? Okay, well, I'm strongly leaning toward queen to d6 because it immediately threatens mate, and I don't know that they can stop that. And again, if they take the knight, I take back, and I think that's mate as well. And if they don't take the knight, like they block with the pawn, I take that, and I'm still threatening mate. And then if they take the bishop, I've got the fork. So I might be missing something, but I'm going to play queen to d6. Okay, they blocked with the pawn, so I take it. That's what I said. And they blocked with the bishop. I'm going to take that too. Okay. Just out of curiosity, I wonder what would have been wrong with pulling the bishop back here. Wait, I don't think I need to check the analysis board. That's what I was about to do, but I think the problem with that is that it's not threatening a mate. It's threatening the fork. Yeah, I think the problem with moving the bishop back threatening the fork is that it allows them to move the queen, not the king, but the queen can move and then it wouldn't be a fork. But this way I'm threatening an immediate mate and they have to do something. All right, got it. All right, I am playing with the white pieces and I'm not in check. Let's look at our checks first. There's a check here on c8, and there's a check here on b6. I think both of those are bad because they would immediately take my queen. A number of ways. Each way has at least 2 ways to take my queen. There's also a check here that I almost missed, d6, but again, they have 2 ways to take back. I also have a check with the rook. That seems bad. So yeah, what do I have? Well, then it's probably not a check. What about a capture? I can capture this pawn. That seems bad because they can take back 2 different ways. I can take this bishop, but that also looks bad. It frees one of their rooks, and they will be pretty quickly hunting down here for a checkmate. I can bring my other rook. I don't know why I said I can bring my other rook. I'm looking at captures right now. I can take that pawn, but we already discussed that. I think those are my only captures. Let's see. Yeah, those are my only captures, and those all look bad. Okay. What about threats? I think the biggest, baddest threat is putting my queen on c6 because that threatens mate. What do they play if I put my queen on c6? Bringing their queen back won't help because I'll still have mate. Bringing their rook over won't help. And if they brought their rook up, I would just take it. On d7, yeah, what can they play? Their king wouldn't be able to move at that point. Okay, it's probably that. It's probably queen to c6. It took me a long time to see it, but none of the checks work as far as I can tell. None of the 3 captures work as far as I can tell. Bringing the other rook doesn't make any sense. What's it going to do, right? So let's play queen to c6. Oh, they kept the rook from seeing that square. Well, I should just take the bishop, right? Oh, and they checked me. Well, I'll take their queen. Okay. I was in apparently a much better situation there than I initially thought. At first I was, had no idea what my rook and queen could do down there, but apparently I could threaten mate and they couldn't stop it. And that's why we stick to the checklist. Next puzzle. I am playing with the white pieces. It does appear my opponent is about to promote their A pawn, and then they'll have a queen. Okay, let's look at the checks. That's a check, queen to f8, but they would just take it. Any other checks? Nope. Oh, I like this one. Queen to g1 check. What are they going to do? Move over? I'm going to go down there and that's mate. Well, let's do that. They blocked with the rook. I'm going to take it. And that's mate. Oh, and I got 11 points because I went so quickly. Next puzzle. They have attacked my rook, which is undefended. If I take their rook, it's a check, and I assume they would take back. But then I could bring my other rook over, threatening to take the knight, and it would be mate. But then they could move their bishop up, but then I could take that too. And then where can they move the knight? Let's see. I don't know, but let's see if they can save this. If I take the rook, because right now we're even on material, right? 2 rooks, bishop, and a knight. So if I take their rook, I'm ahead by 5. They take back, we're even. Then I bring over my other rook to d1, threatening to take that knight. The only way, I was going to say the only way they can protect that knight is to put it back up here. I could take it, and if they take back, then I have a mate with my other rook from d1. I go there and I bring my other rook. If they bring the knight out, I just take it. The only way then that they can stop mate is by getting the bishop out, and then I would take the bishop, or take the bishop with my bishop maybe, or my rook. I don't know. This seems pretty complicated, but is that the only check I have? Yes. If I take their knight first, they get my rook for free. So that's why I'm not going to take the knight first. But that's the only 2 captures in this position that I can see, and one of them is a check. I don't think I have any threats. For example, if I bring this rook over, well, then I'm threatening mate, but they could just push a pawn. Oh, but if they pushed a pawn, I would get the rook and a knight for a rook, okay? So if I brought this rook over, they could take my rook, and when I took back, then they could push a pawn. Okay. So I'm back to this. I'm back to taking the rook with check. Their only legal move then would be to take with their knight. Then when I bring the other rook, I think they have to give up a piece then. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, bring the other rook. They got it out. Now I take that. And again, if they take back, I have mate. So let's do that. Oh, and it stopped. Okay. Oh, that one was a little bit more complex. Next. All right, we are in a rook and rook endgame, or 2 rooks versus 2 rook. I assume this counts as an endgame. I'm playing with the black pieces. It looks like they've given me a free rook. However, if I take it, pretty sure they're going to push this one down to promote. Not to promote, but to protect promotion. It'll be a check because this rook will be out of the way. Well, but then I can come back. Yeah, at first I was worried here that I would have to take and they would get a queen. But no, if I take their d2 rook right now, they can check. But then I just bring that rook back to d8, and my rooks are protecting each other, and I've just picked up a rook. And they have to pop back up there to defend this pawn, I think. Is there anything else worth considering? Because there aren't any checks. The only captures I have are this pawn, which seems bad, because if I capture that pawn, they'll take here with check. And when I get out of check, they'll take, well, I can't go there. I'd have to go to h7, and then they'll take my other rook. And they'll have 2 rooks, and I'll have 0 rooks. So that seems bad. And that's my only other capture, and I don't have any threats that I know of, so I'm going to take on d2. And then I'm going to bring that rook back and take it. And take that. Oh, and I did it fast enough to get 12 points. Oh, at this rate, if I don't really screw it up, which I've been known to do, I might break 1800 in this video, which I'm excited about. The possibility of that. Next. Okay, it looks like we're in almost identical situations, except my opponent has an entirely extra pawn here. What can I do about that? I can't take this one because they have 2 pieces pointed there at h6. I mean, I could take it, but doesn't seem like a good idea. I suppose I could put this rook up here to threaten their other pawn, but that doesn't seem like a puzzle solution, does it? There might be really higher rated puzzles that I haven't ever gotten to, like, I don't know, 2700. I don't know what the highest rated puzzle is, but there might be really high rated puzzles that it's just like moving a piece to a slightly better square, and that's the only good move in the position. That might be the case. I have no idea. But that's never been the case in the rating range of puzzles that I'm solving. It's always a material advantage or a mating sequence or something like that most of the time. There were a couple that threw me but it's not going to be going after that pawn, I'm pretty sure. It could be going after the bishop. What do they play if I put my rook on g7, protected by the pawn? Also, what would my rook be doing on g7? Nothing except attacking the bishop. Think they would just move it. I don't know where. Yeah, they might just put the bishop on e8. Then I could push the pawn, but then they could take my rook. So, oh, maybe it's pushing the pawn first. What do they play if I push the pawn? Because then I would be threatening something down here on g7, right? If they took, I would promote and protected by my bishop. So if I play this pawn, they're probably going to want to escape this way, but then I can still go to g7, and if they take, I promote, and if they don't take, I'm protecting the promotion square over here. I don't know if that's it, and this might be the one where I lose all the points, but I'm going to play f7, I think. But I'm not sure what they're going to do after that. Like I said, the only thing I could think of is maybe getting the king out of the way. Oh well, it might be wrong. Oh, wait, can't I just take the bishop? I think I have to take the bishop because now I can't play the rook to g8 idea that I had before, because then they could take this pawn, right? So I have to take the bishop. Okay, and it says that one was rated 1849, but it sure felt like one of those hypothetical ones that I was talking about that, might be 2700. Yeah, that was just a pawn move, and then they gave up their bishop. I don't know if that was their best move, but it might have been. Okay, but I will take encouragement from the fact that I solved it. So, next puzzle. Okay, I'm not in check. All right. Let's see, do I have checks? I do have checks. Let me see. I have a check here by taking on g7. I have a check by taking on f8. And I have a check by not going all the way to f8, just f7 with my queen. I think those are my only 3 checks, right? The queen to one of these 2 squares and the rook to that square. Well, if I put the rook on g7 check and they take back, I suppose then I could check with my bishop. Wait, maybe that's it. If I check with the rook, they're not forced to take, right? They could move over, but if they move over, then this is mate. So I think they're going to take. And then I check here with my bishop on h6, protected by my queen. They can't come over here because my queen's covering these squares. They have to go back, and my bishop is pointed at that rook. Oh, and I got it fast enough to get the 1800. All right. Well, I'm excited about that, and I've just now gone over my time, so this fit pretty well. Hopefully you got something out of that. If not, I try to change up what I do, every other day or so, and hopefully within the next few videos, I will have enough courage to play another rapid game on camera. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time.